two brothers, born into wealth and privilege, called for help one night.
Someone killed my parents.
Pardon me?
Someone killed my parents.
What? Who? Were they shot?
Hey, man, dude.
Were they shot?
Yes.
But the truth behind those screams would send shockwaves through America. Were they grieving sons or cold-blooded killers? The story of Lyle and Erik Menendez is one of the most infamous family murder cases in U.S. history. On August 20th, 1989, in the heart of Beverly Hills, the lives of José and Kitty Menendez ended in a hail of shotgun blasts. Their two sons, Lyle, 21, and Erik, 18, claimed intruders had broken in and murdered their parents. But what began as a tragic home invasion quickly unraveled into one of the most debated murder cases of the 20th century, one that still divides public opinion decades later. José Enrique Menendez's story began in Cuba, where he was born into modest means. As a teenager, he fled to the United States after Fidel Castro's revolution. Through determination, he climbed from dishwasher to corporate executive. By the 1980s, José was a powerful entertainment executive, working with RCA Records and later Live Entertainment, overseeing music and film production. He was the embodiment of the American dream, ambitious, relentless, and success-driven. His wife, Mary Louise Kitty Menendez, was a former beauty queen and teacher from Illinois. The couple married young and soon welcomed two sons, Lyle and Erik. To outsiders, they had it all: a Beverly Hills mansion, luxury cars, and connections in Hollywood. But behind the mansion gates, the family's world wasn't as picture-perfect as it seemed. According to friends and later the brothers themselves, José ran his home like a corporation, strict, intimidating, and obsessed with achievement. Kitty, once vibrant and social, struggled with depression and substance abuse. Lyle and Erik, though outwardly privileged, described their home as a prison built on fear. It was a warm summer night, August 20th, 1989. The Menendez family had spent the day watching movies and dining out. Later that night, José and Kitty settled in the den to watch television. What happened next remains the chilling centerpiece of the case. At around 10 p.m., Lyle and Erik entered the den carrying 12-gauge shotguns. They fired multiple rounds. José was struck in the back of the head at close range. Kitty screamed and tried to flee, but the brothers chased her down, firing repeatedly until she was unrecognizable. Neighbors heard noises, pops that sounded like fireworks, but in Beverly Hills, few suspected gunfire. Moments later, the brothers fled, disposing of their shotguns near Mulholland Drive. They returned home hours later, pretending to discover the bodies. Then came the now infamous 911 call.
Someone killed my parents.
Pardon me?
Someone killed my parents.
What? Who? Were they shot?
Hey, man, dude.
Were they shot?
Yes.
"Someone killed my parents," Lyle cried hysterically into the phone. When police arrived, the scene was gruesome. Blood everywhere, shattered glass, and a home-turned war zone. At first, detectives assumed a mob-style hit. José's corporate position, connections to the entertainment industry, and the brutality of the attack all hinted at organized crime. The brothers appeared devastated, weeping publicly and organizing a lavish funeral for their parents. No one suspected them, at least not yet. In the months following the murders, the Menendez brothers' behavior began to raise eyebrows. Instead of mourning, they spent money extravagantly, buying Rolexes, designer clothes, a Porsche, and taking overseas trips. Within months, they had burned through more than $700,000. Prosecutors later argued this was proof of greed. that the brothers killed their parents for inheritance and financial freedom. But what truly broke the case open were the therapy tapes. In the months after the killings, Erik began seeing Dr. Jerome Oziel, a Beverly Hills psychologist. During sessions, Erik confessed that he and Lyle had murdered their parents. Oziel's mistress later told police about these confessions, and soon, authorities obtained the recorded sessions. In 1990, Lyle and Erik were arrested. The nation was stunned. The idea that two handsome, well-dressed, privileged young men could murder their parents was almost unthinkable. The first Menendez trials in 1993 were broadcast live on television, turning the brothers into a media spectacle. Each brother had his own jury, and their defense strategy shocked the world. They didn't deny the murders, but claimed self-defense. Their father, they said, had sexually, emotionally, and physically abused them for years. Lyle testified that José began molesting him when he was 6 years old. Erik said the abuse continued until he was 18. Both claimed their mother, Kitty, was an alcoholic who ignored the abuse and enabled José's cruelty. According to the defense, the night of the murders wasn't planned. They said the brothers acted out of terror after José allegedly threatened to kill them if they revealed the abuse. The courtroom was filled with tears, anger, and disbelief. For some, the story felt genuine, a tragic case of long-term victims finally snapping. For others, it sounded rehearsed, a manipulative bid to escape punishment. The first trials ended in hung juries, unable to reach a verdict. But the 1995 retrial changed everything. This time, both brothers were tried together, and the judge restricted evidence of sexual abuse, ruling much of it inadmissible. Without that emotional testimony, the defense struggled. In March 1996, both Lyle and Erik Menendez were found guilty of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. That summer, they were sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. The once spoiled Beverly Hills boys were now inmates for life. Life behind bars was a far cry from Beverly Hills luxury. Lyle and Erik were placed in separate prisons for years, but eventually reunited at the R.J. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego. The reunion made headlines. 2 brothers, older, calmer, and seemingly at peace. While incarcerated, both men married. Lyle wed twice. Erik married his pen pal, Tammy Menendez, who later wrote a book titled "They Said We'd Never Make It." Despite their convictions, the Menendez brothers have maintained that the killings were an act of desperation, not greed. Over time, public perception began to shift, especially as more abuse cases in wealthy families surfaced. In the 2010s and 2020s, new documentaries and online discussions reignited interest. Social media, particularly TikTok and Netflix docuseries, painted the brothers in a more sympathetic light. One major turning point came when Roy Rosselló, a former member of the Latin boy band Menudo, publicly alleged that José Menendez had sexually assaulted him during the 1980s. This revelation gave new weight to the brothers' long-dismissed claims of abuse. In May 2025, after years of petitions and changes in California's sentencing laws for young offenders, the brothers were resentenced to 50 years to life, granting them a chance at parole. Their youth at the time of the crime, 21 and 18, played a crucial role in this new consideration. However, during parole hearings in 2025, both were denied release.
Last night, Lyle Menendez was denied parole after a day-long hearing in California. The parole board acknowledged Menendez has shown remorse for the 1989 murder of his parents, but ultimately rejected his appeal for freedom.
The parole board cited disciplinary issues in prison and concerns about accountability, though they also acknowledge their positive rehabilitation efforts. Under California law, they must now wait several years before applying again. In September 2025, a Los Angeles judge rejected a petition for a new trial, despite new evidence the defense claimed supported their abuse narrative. The court ruled that while new information, like Rosello's testimony and Erik's pre-murder letters expressing fear, was noteworthy, it wasn't sufficient to overturn the conviction. Still, their story remains one of the most discussed family murder cases in history, an emotional intersection of wealth, trauma, and justice. They were born into privilege, but claimed to live in fear. They murdered their parents, yet said they were fighting to survive. Over 30 years later, America still can't agree. Were the Menendez brothers victims or villains? The Menendez case forces us to question how far trauma can drive a person, and whether abuse can ever justify the ultimate act of violence. Do you think justice was truly served? Comment your thoughts. Subscribe for more real stories that changed America. And remember, behind every perfect picture, there's a truth you can't always see.